Hello friends, today I'll be going to cover one of the interview question, that is create our own data structure like a array list. Okay, so here I have already created one custom list. So we are going to give some ability to this custom list to add the element into it. Apart from that, to delete element, to get the size of that custom list, and toString method. Okay, so let's start it. So firstly, to create this custom user, I'll be going to give two options. First is with capacity. By using some capacity, user can create the custom list object, and apart from that, without capacity. Okay, so let's start how we can create the custom list without capacity first. So create one non parameterized constructor here. How to create like custom, then just open close, and this is a non-parameterized constructor, and with capacity with a parameterized constructor. Okay, like custom int, like give the parameter name as the initial capacity. Okay, so by using this initial capacity, user can instantiate their list. Okay, so these two way user can utilize to create their custom list object. Okay, now let's talk about the without capacity. Okay, when users tries to create the custom list without capacity, so we have to declare one default capacity. If user calls the with a users tries to create the list without capacity, in that case we can utilize the default capacity. So let's create one here variable which holds the default capacity. Create constant, and to create the constants in Java we have to use the private static final modifiers and give the data type as int, and give variable default capacity capacity. Okay, and initialize with a some 5. Okay, I want to give the default capacity as a 5. If user does not pass any capacity, that list initialize with a 5 size. Okay, now what I am doing here, from this no argument constructor, I am going to call the parameterized constructor. So like this, by using the this function, so like by passing the default capacity, because I'm not going to, our user does not pass any capacity here, so that's why we are utilizing the this 5 as a default capacity. Okay, let's talk about the with capacity. If user passes the initial capacity here, so we have to check whether that initial capacity is greater than 0. If we are not checking anything in future, so there may be a chance to get some array index out of bound exception or some illegal argument exception will be there. Okay, so let me add one check here, like initial capacity should be greater than 0. If initial capacity is greater than 0, then create one, declare one element array which is typed int type array something. So like I'm going to write array int, then I'll going to use the name like element. Okay, so I declare this array, and let's assign the object to that array. Okay, so now this dot element array is equal to new int, and pass the initial capacity. So now what happens, so with this initial capacity new array will be created, and that array assigned to this reference. Okay, again we have to check whether that array, that initial capacity user passes as a 0, then in that case create the object with default capacity. So like add else if initial capacity is equal to 0, then create the object with the default capacity instead of initial capacity, so like default capacity. And if that initial capacity is not 0, in that case we have to throw the exception, that is illegal argument exception something. Okay, and here we have to pass the invalid capacity, and give the capacity here like initial capacity something. So that's it. Then user easily can create the objects of this both. So let's try. Let me add the main method that drives our code. Let's create the custom list object, and now there are two ways. One is the with capacity. I'll be going to test without capacity. Okay, let's write toString method to verify whether that list is created properly or not, and just print this custom list, so then we'll get the proper idea. Yeah, if you can observe here, if user does not pass or user creates this custom list without capacity, in that case list is created with a default capacity. So the default capacity size is 5, and you can see the array is created internally, array is created with 5 capacity. Okay, and let me try with capacity. I'll be going to give the 2 as a capacity, and let's observe now. Now it is not taking any default capacity, it takes this initial capacity whatever user passes. Okay, this is the two things. Okay, and that code is working fine. Now let's add some operations. I'll be going to add one add operation. This is the parameter which contains the element to be inserted. Now, so we have to declare one index here whenever we are going to add the element, so that index should be increment, and add that element should be inserted at that index. So first of all we have to create one variable private int and index, and give the default value as a -1. And before adding the element to array at particular index, we have to increment this index by 1, and then add this element, that incremented index. Okay, at that incremented index, like suppose I'll be going to give index is equal to index plus 1. So I'm going to increment. So now what is the default value of index? That is -1, -1 plus 1, that is 0. Okay, now let's add this element at this index, calculated index. So element array, I'm going to pass the index as a 0 here as a part of index variable, and pass the element variable. So this value will be inserted at this index inside this element array. Now let's check this as well, printing this. So I'll be going to give the size as a 1, custom list dot add, and let's give it as a 10 here. So now if you can check here, 10 is inserted properly and that is working fine. But there is one situation. So this is simple situation. So this is simple problem. We solve that problem. But now in a worst case situation, how we can do? So let's see the worst case situation what is. So I pass the capacity as a 2. Okay, now it works. And if I try to insert a 3 element, but initially we define the list with a 2 capacity, and we are trying to insert the 3 element, then how it works? It will not work. It will give us the array index out of bound exception. So let's observe the console output. Yeah, you can see here array index out of bound exception will get. Okay, we got, because why? We initially initialize this list with the 2 capacity, and we are trying to insert 3 elements, so that is not correct now. So why that is not correct? So it should work when whenever we pass the extra element, it should be work. To work this situation, to handle this situation, we have to make this array, element array, growable in size. Okay, whenever that array reaches to end, okay, array reaches to end of this array, like n minus 1 index, in that case we have to ensure the capacity first and grow that capacity. First we have to, before inserting the element, we have to ensure the capacity. And by ensuring that capacity, if capacity is less, okay, if capacity is less than index, then we have to grow that capacity with a new formula and insert that element. Okay, let's add this line as well. So now I'm going to add, like I'm going to add one condition here to ensure the capacity first, get the length, and it should be less than, if it is less than equal to index plus 1. Okay, if it is less than, the length is less than equal to, okay, index plus 1, in that case grow that size of list. Okay, grow that size of list. Okay, I'm going to growing that, I'm going to write the growing code here. How to grow that size? First, calculate the, like, public int and new capacity. Like, calculate the new capacity. Let's add the one formula like this: dot element dot get length plus 1. So this is the formula I am going to add here. For the new capacity, I am going to increase the capacity by 1. So then if I increase the capacity by 1, then it should work. Okay, so, and with that capacity, with new capacity, we have to copy the old element to the new array and destroy the old array here. Old array, whatever reference it holds, so we have to remove that array first. So how we can copy old element from the, from the old array to new array? So there is one method, that is copy of method from the arrays utility class. So we have to pass first parameter as a original array, that means old array, that is this dot element array, comma, we have to give the new capacity, that means new size. Okay, with that size it will create the array, and just assign this array to existing reference variable of element array. Okay, now what happens? So we grow that size of that existing array by 1, and again we are inserting that element to that array. Let's test the same scenario with this case. Okay, it should be executed. Yeah, see, so initially we passed the capacity as a 2, correct? And we are, then also we are trying to insert the 3 element. We are aware about, we pass the capacity as a 2, then still we are passing, we are trying to pass the 3 elements. In that case, error should be there, but we handle that error. Worst case we handle here to, here we have provided the ability to that array to grow the dynamically. Okay, if something situation, sometime if that kind of situation happens, to grow that array. Okay, so that kind of logics we build here. Again, I'm going to write one more function here to get the size of that array, like size function. This size function will return the index plus 1, because index starts from 0, you know that, and we have to n plus 1, we have to return the index plus 1. So then we got the proper index. Suppose here we inserted the three elements. Okay, we inserted the three element here. Then what should be the index? Sorry, what should be the size of that array? The size of that array should be 3. Let's observe the here. Yeah, size of array 3. And if we not return by adding 1 here, then we will get the 2 as a size, because we started from 0, and we started from 0. We are not counting. Size should be counted from the 1, not from 0, but indexes should be counted from the 0. So that is the difference here. Okay, let's execute again. Yeah, that is one enhancement here, guys. So yeah, that's it. So that is the case. So we have created this custom list here, our own data structure as per the requirement, or as per the interview questions. We covered all logics, so we tested as well here. So yeah, thank you guys.